Hello, Darren.
Hi, Darren. I'm going to jump in here.
Mhm.
You've been hinting that something exciting or interesting has happened to you today, and I've said, don't tell me, save it for the recording.
Well, also,
I
you
want to know.
had the idea of, as a theme for one of these discussions, to do something about waste.
Yeah, well, I thought it was your idea.
Oh, was it? I thought it was your idea. Well, I mean, it possibly sort of overlaps with our last video about time, because we were certainly talking about whether certain things were a waste of time.
Yeah.
I live just opposite Crystal Palace Park.
Right.
And I like Crystal Palace Park, but I think I like it perhaps not in the way it's supposed to be liked. It's called Crystal Palace because it was the scene. There used to be a Crystal Palace here, a big glass palace for the Great Exhibition in 1851 or something, a long time ago, maybe 1870.
But yeah.
And that got burnt down, but still a lot of the ghosts of it are here. Crystal Palace Park is famous for its dinosaurs, which are often in a state of disrepair. A jaw fell off one.
Oh dear. The jaw fell off one?
Yeah, they're on these islands, and you walk around them, and then kids, kids get up and play on the dinosaurs. So I say kids, street roughs.
Youths.
Yeah.
Well, we must point out to viewers who are unaware of Crystal Palace Park, this isn't like Jurassic Park. The dinosaurs aren't roaming around real.
No, I mean, but I mean, it is kind of in. They're made out of stone. They're big statues, but they are life size. And also the other thing, which is often said about them, or the other sort of fact that's interesting about them, is that they're wrong. That is to say that sort of paleontology was in its infancy, and their sort of estimations of what 19th century paleontologists thought dinosaurs looked like.
So, were the dinosaurs made for the exhibition as well?
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't realise they were so old.
Yeah. And they have little plaques on them saying why they're wrong.
Right.
There's lots of statues. There's lots of secret statues. So if you're ever down here, I'll show you some of my favourite bits of Crystal Palaces. All sorts of little relics, and I say that the park is full of ghosts. And I quite like its forlornness. Locally, people are sometimes upset, like, put more money into the park. Right. Even recently, its listed modernist swimming pool doesn't seem to have survived its COVID closure and hasn't opened for one reason or another. There's all sorts of things like that happening. But, in my heart of hearts, I would like the park to look great and new. But there is a romanticism to its these crumbling statues and these sometimes dilapidated-looking dinosaurs and the crumbling steps that used to go up to Crystal Palace. In one of the around the backs of one of the walkways, there's an old turnstile, which is really hard to find. I often like taking people to show that, and it's a turnstile from the Great Exhibition.
Excellent.
There's also the Crystal Palace Bowl, where Bob Marley, Lou Reed, the Pixies, The Cure played there. All sorts of people played, and that is also something which has been in a state of repair for a long time.
Yeah.
And there's been various campaigns to try and get it up and running again. So another example of the ghost of Crystal Palace Park. And so recently, the Crystal Palace Park Trust has started to put events on and making the use of the park, tendering the park out to other people. The idea being that, it would have events and festivals there. And as you would imagine, this has a sort of mixed response from residents, particularly the Wireless Festival.
Right. Yes.
You just get teenagers pooing in your front lawn.
You literally do, don't you?
And surprisingly, local Facebook groups aren't that keen on the teenage poos. Was that John Peel's favourite song or something like that? I did the kind of Twitter joke I had.
You did that thing. Yeah. You did.
I still did it better than everyone does it on Twitter.
It's funny though.
And so they did Wireless. I went to a few things. To be honest, I think in maybe due to COVID and maybe due to other things, I think they've been a bit undersold. So there was one, there was what do you call them? What's that horrible band that never wash?
Oh, Libertines.
Oh, very close. Fat White Family Band.
Oh, I don't know them.
Oh God, I think there's lots to not like about them, but God, do those guys need a bath. I went to see them, and I went to see Supergrass just over the road because Supergrass was good. But quite frankly, not that I think this is a reflection on Supergrass. They couldn't give the tickets away. It just, it's too far down in South London, COVID. Right. Anyway, another thing that they've been doing in order to try and generate money to repair the park is at Christmas, and then now we're finally getting to the meat of my story.
Okay.
At Christmas, they do this thing called Lightopia.
Right.
And Lightopia is they like these. I suppose it seems like it might be some sort of Asian culture behind it, of these sort of like paper or tissue constructions which have lights inside, like you might have at some lantern festival or something.
Yeah.
But they're quite sort of, well, I don't know. I don't know what sort of opinion I do have it, really. They've done it for 2 years, and the first year they did one thing that was pretty impressive. Actually, they did they basically remade the Crystal Palace and then projected scenes of the fire on it, and I thought that was quite creative.
Wow. Yeah,
but it sort of has a mixed reaction locally because, what they do is they turf everyone out of the park when it gets dark, and then, try and charge you to go back in to see all these lights. I don't really know how they achieve it, actually, because it's a really unsecure park. And I'm sure if you wanted to put your mind to it, you could get in there somehow. It's not like they put crash barriers all the way around it.
Well, I was going to say, are people really that determined to break in just to see this thing?
Well, it is a bit pricey. It's 17 quid a ticket.
17 quid?
Yeah. God. And this is a park that I walk around every morning for free, which is also sort of a weird thing that happens, so that all of these displays go up usually about Halloween. In fact, this year there was a lot. They were trying to do a sort of display that both echoed Christmas and Halloween in a way. I think there was some bits of it had pumpkins and stuff, and other bits had snowmen and stuff. And I don't know. You know what it's like with local things. People are against it. People are for it.
Yeah.
Ooh, why is everyone being a spoil sport? You know, it's too much. 17 quid to get in my own park. It's one of those arguments where pretty soon you've decided you're on neither side.
Yeah, you just don't want to be involved in it. So.
Yeah. I actually do find just walking around the park with Minnie as they gradually put up these things. There's one bit this year which was the clangers, and they had the clangers and the soup dragon on one bit.
Something for the kids. I bet the kids love it because they wouldn't even know it was an old thing, would they?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing as well. I don't know what the reaction is when you go around with a kid. I don't know if it's like, oh. I think one thing they did last year as well is they sort of lit up the dinosaurs themselves. So one of the attractions were these sort of, 150-year-old models of dinosaurs, which were lit up to look as if they were alive. This year they couldn't do that because, as per usual with Crystal Palace Park, one of the floodlights in the stadium was deemed unsafe, and they had to pull it down. So they couldn't use that part. This is a story of Crystal Palace all over again. There's always a little bad luck, a little element of a curse about everything they try and do, which brings us on to the next part of the story, really.
Right.
So hold on, I just got to fix a little mistake. I can't quite talk whilst fixing this mistake. So I go away for Christmas. They do Christmas. Sometimes from my flat, I can vaguely hear the music. There's lots of bits of music that goes along with it. And then there's food vans and burger vans that are parked up. And then they all disappear. Yeah. And then some of the generators and stuff that power it all, they disappeared. And then it sort of stopped. The clearing up stopped. And all of these sculptures have been sort of left in the park. I mean, they're not that strong, really. As I say, they're sort of made. I'm not sure if the material is paper. Anyway, they sort of gradually getting a little bit forlorn. When in November and December, when it's all going on, they actually, have signs saying "Don't touch the sculptures," and they have, I don't know, not inconsiderable amount of security. I mean, they have a bit of security around the clangers and stuff. There's a few, I would say, a staff of 5 or 7 people that stay there during the day just to make sure. Yeah, the whole thing's all right, because they can't close the park down the whole 2 months. It has to still be a park during the day, and so you can walk around these things. Anyway, this morning, the Parks Trust put up this notice and said, Lightopia, the company that put it on, have gone into receivership. The company's gone bust. But they've left all these pixies, toy soldiers, snowmen, and they're all over the park. I think at this point I shall show you some photographs.
Yes.
Give us a sec. Okay. Right, can you see here's just a power supply thing over. But yeah, here's a snowman and they've all fallen over. Here's a bent snowflake. This is a parade and these have all been bent over. They're all sort of this is a sort of dead unicorn. It reminds me of that. It reminds me of when people get excited about is it Mr. Blobbyland? That's a thing that comes up on Twitter every now and then, don't they?
Yes, I was just going to say that.
people get excited about that because it's this really forlorn thing. And I think always sort of dead theme parks is always funny.
Yeah, great.
Do you remember me? I don't know if it's a story I've told in Brentwood Tuxedo, but I might have told you. But if not, I'll do it again quickly. But do you remember me telling you about the two conspiracy theorists over the park?
I know you. Yes, I know of them.
Yeah, there's Tony and there's Frank, and they both believe all manner of bollocks. You know, you name it, from 9/11 to COVID to whatever it is, they think something wrong about it. Right? The trouble is with them is that they really like dogs, and Minnie fucking loves them. My dog. She's like, look, there's Tony. He understands dogs, and he does. He's really good with dogs. But he'll often just come up and be like, all right, mate, how you doing? But he'll have some T-shirt on that'll say something like, you know, we've got to save our kids from the vaccine or something. So you're really torn because, like, you know, Minnie gets on with him really well, but he's obviously a complete maniac. And so I get over the park this morning, and I'm sort of quite excited to go over there. Now I know this news about the Lightopia, and I want to look at it in a different way. And in fact, I think I will continue to take photographs because I'm interested. Because I think I think that the amusements and the sculptures, something is going to happen. You know, like when a building, as soon as people know it's derelict, then it goes to shit.
Yeah.
And I think now that the word's out, that it and true enough, I was walking around with my friend Liam and Jody and another Darren, the other Darren,
Blimey, yeah.
And we're walking around, and then a few people said, I wouldn't mind one of those clangers. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think everyone agreed the clangers were the best part of it. And we're walking around. I'm taking these photographs I just showed you. We're just talking about it in general. And I'm sort of saying, I'm more into it now than when it was going, The idea that all these things are sort of dilapidated and we don't know who's going to clear it up, and there's all sort of dead unicorns and mythical creatures all around the park. And, Liam was saying, I thought about the clanger as well. And then we turn around the corner, and apparently there's one particular little clanger that looked easy to have away. Yeah. And apparently Phil, another dog walker, he tried this morning and couldn't be bothered carrying it. And we got around the corner, and then we're like, it's gone! The clanger's gone! And then we look, and then we see Tony's got it. The conspiracy theory. He's nabbed himself a clanger. See, my idea was that he probably thinks it's evidence of some government conspiracy theory, so that's why he's taken it. He probably thinks
exactly. It's something about like faked moon landings and stuff.
Yeah, he probably thinks that clanger's like the new health minister or something.
Yeah.
Well, that were the end of the story, because it isn't.
Yes, because I gathered something else.
Yeah, so I've actually spent most of the day. Bizarrely, I've spent most of the day doing Christmas shopping because I went away in the new year. I actually didn't bother getting loads of people Christmas presents, and only now am I starting to see them. And so I actually did some of my Christmas shopping in mid-January. My phone has lit up a few times because I don't know, some god-awful website called My London was trying to get the pictures off me. And
so you
put
then these pictures on Twitter, did you?
Yeah, and it's hardly viral, but my standard, I think people like that sort of stuff, don't they? Abandoned. Yeah. I think our crowd certainly does.
Yeah,
like that sort of thing. So So I sort of knew that people would like this. I'm sort of thinking there's going to be better pictures tomorrow and the day after, because I think now that it's become public knowledge that the company's got into receivership, I've got a feeling people are going to think, well, it's not stealing, are they? No. And so I've kind of got this idea that next Christmas we're going to see loads of these things outside people's houses. Yeah, and then the Daily Express. No, not Daily Express. No, I'm sorry, not the Daily Express. The Evening Standard.
Evening Standard
had a go at trying to get the pictures off me.
Mr. Osborne's paper.
Yeah, I didn't have to think too long before I said no. It wasn't. It wasn't exactly a dark, troubled night of the soul. You know.
I'm very jealous that you've been able to say no to a newspaper like
that. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, you know that I'm sure I've told you this before. You know that I could. There's those badges, aren't there? Hated by the Daily Mail,
right?
Which you can wear if you've had that distinction, and I do have that distinction. Before
really?
Before Margaret Thatcher died. They did an article about people who would be celebrating, or when Margaret Thatcher dies or something like that. Yeah. A list of enemies of the state, and I was featured in that for my song,
right,
the day that Thatcher dies. So yeah, I'm quite pleased to have once featured in the Daily Mail as an enemy of what they believe in.
Yeah.
That's it. I think that's the end of my tale. So I wonder whether it's even clear now. I was going to be painting a dog portrait tonight, but actually I have decided to paint a little scene from the dilapidated Lightopia at Crystal Palace. And so we have
that a pissed guardsman.
Yeah, it's a guardsman that's fallen over and loads of candy sticks, whatever you call them. You know, those. Is that what you call them? Those
candy canes. Is it?
Candy canes, yeah. And but it's a real challenge actually, because as you can see, I'm trying to do that thing I've been doing recently of leaving all the white.
Yeah.
And then gradually painting in, sort of doing a negative space thing. But it's really hard because it's really hard to judge the position of all the candy canes because I had to leave the white in and the snowman here. But I'm quite glad that I think it'll be a better video for me painting. And also, speaking completely commercially, I think the market for paintings of dilapidated Lightopia is only going to last possibly today and tomorrow. But, though, it did so when you reminded me that our theme for tonight's talk was going to be waste, it did actually make me think of waste a little bit, because as much as this company, I don't know how much sympathy I have for this company. It all looked like burgers and 15 quid. It didn't. I don't know. They didn't seem like the good guys. It seemed a bit rip-offy. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they are the good guys, but and I didn't particularly like it. Really, just sticking a load of lights on it. I wasn't inclined to pay and go and see it. But having said that, seeing it today like this, and even though I'm, being the typical Instagram team by taking pictures of it and sticking it on the web and saying, "Oh, look at this! Isn't this funny?" I was actually a little saddened because, no matter what you look at it, it is someone's art.
Yeah. Yeah,
and it is waste. Like no one cares. It looks like the trust is going to have to clear the park of all these sculptures, and it looks like this is sort of dead, wasted art, isn't it? It's like no matter what I think of it, someone has worked hard on these things.
Yeah.
So that's my way of segueing today's story into our theme.
I'm more interested in talking about dilapidated amusement parks now.
Well, for this, we once again we have to do a shout out, I think, for the person. I don't know her personally.
I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, the person who I think is the queen of YouTube. In my opinion, it's the best YouTube channel. And we need to do a shout out to Jenny Nicholson. I don't really know who Jenny Nicholson is. She's just this young woman who sits in her bedroom and makes phenomenally long YouTube videos. She did about a 2 hour.
Too long.
I don't think they're too long. I think one recently was a bit too long. There are some 10-minute ones, but she does videos about Star Wars. She does videos. She did a great one about a channel online, a Christian group in Canada that did mock plays of movies. So they would do one on Pirates of the Caribbean. One would be, a Marvel film. And she did a whole review of all that. But one thing she also likes is broken or busted amusement parks. But she also really likes the history of amusement parks. And she's done... she did one where she was trying to track down one particular monster that she loved that went missing from part of Disneyland or stuff like that, or an animatronic thing.
Oh, was it a big spider or a big bug?
There's a bit, no, she traveled all this way to buy a spider. That's a separate video. It's some kind of character. It was in a forgotten part and she was trying to work out where it had gone. I think she's great. And so let's put a link to her channel, and the QVC one's really great as well, where she's following the career. She's following the career of one particular. It isn't actually QV. She's following the career of one particular presenter on this shopping channel.
It's the Hallmark channel.
It's the Hallmark channel. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very funny. And in relation to the theme park one, there's one I saw where she goes visiting an old Flintstones theme park.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. And that one happens quite by accident. That is the one where she's buying the spider.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. She drives all that way to buy a spider and she's with her friends. And then she goes, hold on. There's a Flintstones amusement park over there and it's closed. And I think we can get inside it. Very, really, really good stuff. I think my other favorite one of hers is the one where she tries to buy every soft toy of a Porg from Star Wars, The Last Jedi, and she tries to review every single Porg that's been released. I particularly like that one as well.
See, when I say that her videos are too long, they may not be too long if I've never watched the 3-hour ones. It may be that 3 hours is exactly the perfect length for those videos.
Well, there's some. I mean,
it's not too long.
Well, I mean, look at us.
Yeah, that's true.
And there is, I think there is something about YouTube and the phenomenon of YouTube is that I think if people like something, they'll watch it for a long time. The other one is those other guys I've talked to you about a couple of times is the Red Letter Media guys.
Yeah.
And their career took off really because they did this 3-hour review of The Phantom Menace and they didn't even like it. They thought it was terrible. but the review is something like an hour longer than the film. And I think it's interesting that sort of TV for years thought, well, people just want something snappy and in over and done within half an hour. And actually what people want, if they really like something, if they really, really like something, then they can't like it enough. Yeah. If you're banging to Lord of the Rings, well, then I just want someone to talk about Lord of the Rings for, a few hours. I sort of quite like it. I mean, it could be viewed as really dumb, I suppose.
No, I think you're right. It's people's YouTube, and it's good for people's passions.
Yeah.
And that thing where you can have one person talking for 2-3 hours about something that they love, and if you're interested in it as well, then it's perfect. I listen to a photography podcast, which is all centered on film. I'm going to give them a shout out.
Give them a shout out. They could do, all of these people could really do with the influx of followers that we'll give them.
Yes, exactly. And it's the actually, I know we do have a mutual viewer between this channel and the film photography podcast. Funnily enough. Yeah. But yeah, that's the name of the channel, Film Photography Podcast. And when they started off, they were doing like episodes over 2 hours long, and I loved every minute of it. Just funny as well. It's not just really dry content about film types and developing and stuff.
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, sorry, Karen.
But when they do a shorter one, I'm kind of disappointed.
Yeah, it's the same with the Red Letter Media guys, and it's the same with Jenny Nicholson, and it's also the same with the other guys that we've sort of done shout-outs a few times. The Nothing Is Real podcast on the Beatles.
Yeah,
I mean, their last season was about sort of 7 or 8 hours just about Alan Klein and the business deals he did for the Beatles and whether they were good deals or bad deals. It was so mind-numbingly detailed. And
I've not heard that. That sounds fascinating.
And essentially boring, except it wasn't, because and I mean, and I suppose this is the arrogance of anyone, including us. This is the arrogance of doing a podcast or a YouTube channel, because the reason why it wasn't boring is I just like them.
Yeah.
And I that's it. I just like hearing them chat, and sometimes I have it, bubbling away in the background, and they're talking about. They did I think they did 2 episodes about. What's that song? Come Together.
Right.
Because that it's kind of very, very similar to a Chuck Berry song.
Yes, things do, yeah.
Even like lyrics and everything. It's like quite a naughty steal that John Lennon did. Yeah. And so the legal battle over Come Together lasts like right into the 70s.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that album, that John Lennon album, Rock and Roll, where he does the rock and roll covers?
Yeah.
That's part of the settlement.
Right.
He had to do that out. He had to do that album to pay off the legal case for Come Together.
Are there any Chuck Berry songs on that album?
I think he has to do them. Yeah, I think he has to do a certain number of songs that are owned by the copyright holders who had.
Yeah.
And what's the song that is a rip-off of? It's you don't catch me, you can't catch me, or something. Is the title of the?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna look this up, because there's only so many times I can give misinformation. I mean, you can still talk whilst I'm looking this up. I can't. No, I can't talk.
No, it's fine. I'm concentrating on the injuries Doc Martin boots.
Yeah, sorry, we really have given you short thrift over there, haven't we? What you're doing?
Fine. I'm engrossed.
Yeah, You Can't Catch Me.
Right.
And it's like if you hear it, you go, oh shit, yeah. I mean, It's got lyrics in it. It's got He Come On Flat Top, He Come Grooving Up Slow. It's really is the same song. And John Lennon just went, oh yeah, the right credit for this is Lennon McCartney. And I think it's actually quite a pivotal case in like songwriting. What do you call it? Legislature, or it set a lot of precedents for thieving songs. So I think there's an argument to be said that a lot of people up until that point, didn't even necessarily realize they were doing something wrong. You nicked a riff off someone, you did this, I think that's probably hard to say of John Lennon when he's in the Beatles. I'm sure someone could have told him he was doing something wrong. But.
Well, that's a big, that's a very big discussion. Is were they doing something wrong? Is that how music used to be?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose what he could have thought he was doing was, a form of quotation, or sampling before its time. But but sampling. I mean, sampling is kind of over in the sense of the 3 Feet High and Rising or Paul's Boutique kind of style of sampling.
Yeah, it is.
Where you use the backbeat of one song and that you make this new song, and that really inventive era of when sampling was just alive and it was making all these new songs because pretty soon everyone realized and everyone just said, we can't do it anymore because it's just songs cost too much to clear now.
Yeah. I think it's a shame, but
I think it's a shame, but I also think it's possibly an inevitable result of the situation. I think it was always going to end up that way. As soon as people were making money out of
well, if you had one of your tunes sampled on a massive world-beating hit, you'd be really disappointed if you didn't get anything from it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So I like that story. I like the theme park. That's quite funny. Look at it. Look at that.
What are you looking at?
He does look drunk.
I'm not. I mean, I think this is going to be a hard painting to explain without the story I just told. I don't quite know how much sense what's happening in this painting makes. I think in contrast to my more expensive Spanish paintings I've put up, I think this will be a fun bargain bucket Hayman picture here. I like the snowman, actually. I think the snowman's a bit more...
Snowman looks quite evil. Snowman looks like
he does.
He's pushed the guardman over.
He does, doesn't it? It does look like there's a little narrative there that you can work through. Yeah. Quite enjoying these trees.
So yes, West. So we were talking about West. We were talking about time.
We spent some time on time, which is the most valued commodity we have. But I think I think we were coming to the conclusion, which we could look at again, is that, when you're being creative, I think you should try your best to not think of anything as wasted time, I think.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Every bad picture, every bad song is just another necessary part of the journey towards a good one.
Yeah.
It's actually necessary to do bad stuff. If you're not doing bad or disappointing things, then I think you're probably not doing enough work. If you succeed in every time.
Yeah, I would agree there. I think the best way to learn is to make mistakes, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's important that you understand what mistake you made, though, because otherwise, that kind of sometimes the time can be wasted. If you say you're practicing for hours and hours on something, whether it's the guitar or you're practicing drawing, that if you're doing the wrong kind of practice, you actually don't learn anything.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure what you mean. Let's put it that way. Highly short.
Well, yeah. I mean, say you're wanting to play in a certain way. Say we're talking about guitar.
Yeah.
Want to play in a very certain style. But you're practicing the wrong things to help you do that style. And so you end up not being able to play that way because you've not actually practiced the way you should have done.
Right, yeah.
So in that respect, that you've wasted that time. But
are you not even possibly are you probably still not learning something that might be useful for something else a different time, though?
I was going to say, yeah. In another respect,
filling the tank up,
That's right. Yeah, there is that. You end up with a different style of playing than the one you were wanting to learn. But that's not necessarily a bad thing.
I suppose if I'm honest, I think of some things. I think there's a certain thing that happens at the end of working on music. I think there's certain things that happen at the end of a project for a lot of people, from what I hear. And I think I probably am guilty of this sometimes, which is just gilding the lily and titivating at the end when, what you've done does or doesn't work already. Like the thing that people are or aren't going to like about it has already been decided. Yep. You can't do anything about that now. My friend Dave Shepherd, when I record with him, has an expression called daubing, which is the idea, like at the end of a painting, where you're just doing little bits.
Yeah.
And sometimes he uses that expression when we're recording, and we're sort of saying, well, should we put this guitar up a bit? Or maybe it needs a triangle here or something. And then he says, are we daubing?
Yeah.
Are we making any fucking difference to this? And I think that's quite a good question to ask yourself in music, when you're on the 5th day of mixing or something, or, it's like, nothing really is going to make a difference now,
No. And that's very applicable to art as well, the visual arts.
It is. Yeah, it is. And I think both for me, well, by definition, me and you are quick, because the very reason for this channel existing is based on the fact that we can do, paintings inside 3/4 of an hour for these videos. I mean, this channel wouldn't work if we hadn't have realised that we are relatively swift in drawing.
That's true.
And obviously, the reason why we're quick is because, I'm not painting every blade of grass here on this picture. But I do sometimes wonder whether, I think lately with some of the things I've been talking about in these videos and this sort of abandoning line and trying to paint light, I think I'm trying to get a bit better at letting the painting take as long as it takes, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'm doing the same with my drawing at the moment.
I think you are. Yeah, I think I've noticed like in your recent. Oh look, have you just seen? Look, the few bits of grass I'm just doing has suddenly sort of made it all fall together. I didn't think this picture was making much sense, but I just think these few bits of shadow here have just started to tell the story a bit better. Yes, I've noticed that. I think that you are also like, right, I start this picture, it takes as long as it takes. Whereas I think sometimes in the past, it's got to a point and I get a bit itchy. Like, it's taking too long. It's not. And so sometimes, I think it was definitely happening when I've been painting on holiday, especially when I was doing that trip on my own, where I spent a week on my own in northern Spain.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, I was a little bit nervous about it. I was a little bit nervous about spending that much time on my own. Yeah. And so when I sat down in front of a church, I was like, I literally have nothing else to do. I am on holiday. Yeah. I've got no chores to do. I've just got my paints in front of me and a nice little beer. I could sit here for 3 hours.
Yeah. Having said that, I don't think I'll finish this drawing in this video.
Well,
because there's a lot of colouring in.
Right. Well, are you using biro?
Back on biros again, yeah.
Yeah, you don't make it easy for yourself, do you?
Well, I'm loving using them though.
Do you sort of get into quite a sort of, like when you're really doing a large area and all that biro, do you sort of zone out a bit? Is it quite sort of therapeutic?
Yeah. I find myself kind of leaning on my elbow, putting my head in my hand and just leaning on one elbow and just sitting and just colouring away. Yeah, it is quite nice.
I can imagine you actually getting a bit of sort of RSI from that drawing technique.
Well, there is that. I was going to say it is a little bit achy sometimes. It's definitely a point where you need to take breaks. I mean, you've seen I was doing the Hall & Oates album.
What an album!
Earlier on today, I can turn the page and show you. And that's going to take
show
time.
everyone. But I mean, let's also. I mean, I'm sure our audience know their music very well.
You'd hope so.
But if you don't know the album "Abandoned Luncheonette" by Hall & Oates, it's a fucking brilliant album, and very different to what you might. You might
massively different.
What you might think of Hall & Oates. It's very different from Man Eater and stuff like that.
It's got She's Gone, which people will know.
Yeah, that's a song, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think I'd be prepared to lose an arm to write a song that good.
It is really good. They were a really great band. People, I kind of forgot. I got into them again about 20 years ago after hearing one of the songs on Radio 2, and it just hitting me. Whoa! I forgot how good these guys were. And
they're really good.
And I'm pleased to say I how good these guys are, because I saw them a few years ago, and they were fantastic.
I didn't necessarily know if they were still together.
They were. I think they're not necessarily together as such, but they were doing a tour, and I think they're the kind of band who will now do the odd tour. You get a bit of money.
Was you aware of the not dissimilar to Toyah and Sophie Ellis-Bextor? Were you aware of the Daryl's House thing during lockdown?
I was aware of it well before that.
It was before that, wasn't it? But I think it just also got another. I think it got another. It wasn't like he did it for lockdown, but I think it got an extra kick of life in lockdown.
No, I loved it. I watched it all like a few years ago, before well before lockdown, and really enjoyed it.
It's really good. He brings someone in, and pretty much they do one of their songs and one of his songs.
Yeah. Yeah, so Nick Lowe's on it. He does. I think they do Peace, Love and Understanding, and then probably one of Hall & Oates' ballads.
There's a really good one.
Cruel to Be Kind.
Oh yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, there's a really good one with Kenny Loggins where they do a ripping version of Footloose.
Right. I'm gonna find that one. I don't think I've seen that one yet.
Yeah, really good stuff.
Todd Rundgren's been on it a few times. He produced Hall & Oates on their earlier albums.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, at least one of them, and maybe more than one. Yeah. He was kind of friends of theirs. Who else been on? Loads of really good stars. It's good. I really like it. But yeah, live, they were really great live. Really,
it's one of those things as well. I mean, there's no reason why you wouldn't expect Daryl Hall to be a great musician. But I think quite often when he's on Top of the Pops, he's the one, going like not behind the keyboard. He's the one. He's the lead singer. He runs around and sings, and
exactly, yes.
And Oates, is the guitarist. And so you might be forgiven for thinking that Daryl Hall isn't the hottest musician, but in these videos, he really is. He's not shy at all. He's not shy at all of taking a solo or learning the hard bits of someone's songs. He's not at all giving himself the easy jobs.
And it's not just guitar; he's often playing the keyboard as well.
Yeah, he's a great keyboardist, isn't he?
Yeah, he's really good.
I tell you a song I really fucking love of his, and it's so cheesy, and it's really overproduced. Can you guess? It is a Hall & Oates song, is it? It's not. Just it isn't. No, it isn't. So that makes it a bit trickier.
No, go on.
It uses what we call in the songwriting trade the glam descend.
What's that?
Down. You just run the bass line through a major chord.
Right.
You just your bottom finger of your guitar, just wherever you are. If you're on G, then your bottom finger goes F sharp, E, D. You just run a descending thing. Dreamtime. Do you know the song Dreamtime?
No, I don't.
Oh, what a treat! It's also one. It's also. It was. I think it was his first attempt to really sort of, have a solo success, and it's. I think it's his first one after, after sort of Man-Eater and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and it's so overproduced. This song. It's like as soon as you think, hold on, I don't think I've heard a cello yet. Oh, there's a cello. Well, there's the harps. Then the harps are in. There's like 1,500 guitars on it. And DX7s. It's just sound soup.
I'm just thinking as well. His first solo album, Sacred Songs, Robert Fripp produced it.
Yeah.
This is the weird thing that people forget about Hall & Oates. They had their moments of prog, didn't they? Before they became this big.
They're not quite the sort of. They're not quite the Huey Lewis and the News you think they are.
No, they're really not. No.
We've crammed in a few subjects.
Hence the Todd Rundgren sort of thing as well. He was, it kind of makes sense.
We've crammed in a few subjects tonight, haven't we?
Yeah. This is going to take ages to colour in. I don't think I'm going to, but I'm going to finish the lettering.
Well, I suppose then it befalls to me to perhaps decide when we're finished. Then I suppose let's at least one of us finish, shall we?
Okay. I mean, I don't mind it going on if the viewers will turn off. They get bored of it, won't they?
I know, but if we actually had some viewers, then maybe we'd gradually, like, they could say, "Oh, that one's a bit long. This one's about the right length." But unfortunately, because no one at all listens to watching us, we shall never know. I feel really
in that
bad.
case, sod it. I'm just gonna carry on till I finished it.
Well, I mean, what I could do is I could I could start what I was supposed to be doing, which was a cat and a dog commission.
I'm liking what you've done, though.
I don't know. It's like I'm trying to think. Would you recognise these things as candy canes? I mean, they barely contain in this shape.
No, you would do.
It's really interesting. It's really interesting. This new style of painting I'm doing. It's really. I wouldn't have dreamed of trying to conquer this without drawing the outlines of these.
No, you wouldn't.
These shapes and I think what's interesting is that sometimes it's resulting in something sort of quite almost photorealist. Sometimes I think a couple of the trains I've done, it almost has like I can see people going, "Oh wow, Darren, that's good," because I've got something about the light right and the chrome or something in the reflection. But I think also sometimes it does the opposite. And it just means, wow, you can't even paint a candy cane.
You can. Well, what's good about them and that and the train one you did in the last video we did. You do. There is that element of photorealism, but without it being like a hyper realistic painting. It's still obviously a painting.
Here's the train one we're talking about.
There you go. So I think it's nice when paintings still look like paintings, even if they're really good and they've nailed the subjects. I'd still rather it look like it was paint than a photograph. And that's your paint. They still have that quality. They don't look like photos, even though they look very realistic.
I think I like the idea of, for a little while longer, just really leaning into the challenge of certain things, like thinking, "Oh, I'm going to paint that for this," and thinking, "God, how would you do that in this?" And I was definitely thinking about this. There was definitely almost like a bit of laziness about this when I was like 5 minutes before we started. I was thinking, "Are you really going to try and do that?" And then I thought, "Oh God, it's got to be really. If you're going to talk about it."
Yeah.
I think it might be done. Do you think it's finished? I could sort of keep trying to clarify these things. I could bring these bits of green in.
Move it over slightly. It's just going off.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'd be happy to stop painting that.
Yeah, I think I am. I'm going to stop. Oh, I know what I've got to do. There's these lights all along the ground, which I didn't do. I didn't leave all these white things. I need to put them in. Strange little white baubles, which I think help the sort of Christmassy setting. So I'm a little cheat here, possibly. I had a Five Guys burger today.
Oh,
I agree with you.
Do I have to do a rant?
No, you don't. You don't have to, because I'll do it for you. You do it because you do it because you sort of feel like a treat. It's like I want a £10 burger. I was going, and doing this Christmas shopping. I didn't really, want to be in Croydon doing Christmas shopping today in the middle of January. And the way I was, galvanizing myself into, oh, this will be fine, was like, oh, you could go to Five Guys. I was looking forward to that. And, but you're right. It's too much. It's not worth it.
So the first time I went, didn't know anything about it, but it always looked good. So I went after work one day into Manchester, and I wasn't paying much attention to the prices or anything. So it does that. As I've said before, when it says all toppings are free, they are absolutely not free. You are paying a fortune for those toppings. They're absolutely killing the make on the fact that if you buy a burger with hardly any toppings on it, you're still paying as much as you're putting all the toppings on.
And when I come to choose my toppings, I can't bring myself to say all of them.
Get them all. You're paying for it. So I just I ordered it, and it was the burger with everything, chips and a drink, as you would do. And he said, okay, that'll be £16.70. And I just there was a little voice in my head going, what? How much? But I just politely paid it. And then he gives me the food, just puts the burger in the paper bag, pours like a ridiculous amount of chips onto it, which normally I wouldn't complain about. Well, I didn't complain, but I wouldn't moan about it. But it was like, too many chips here. This is loads of carbs. And then I'm like, where's my drink? And he said, oh yeah, there's your cup. Just to the machine over there. You know how to use it, don't you? I'm like, yes, of course I fucking know how to use it. I just thought at £16.70, someone would be pulling me a pint. So I ate this burger. Can't remember. It was nice.
The burgers are nice. I think once or twice I've remembered to go in there and not even order the chips. The chips are fucking ridiculous how many chips they give you.
They really are.
And you're right. Yeah. They should do, because they're £5 or something for the chips.
Yeah. And
you are right. There's something about complaining about how much something costs is just so old school, and I like that you still do it.
Well, and in my accent as well, it's like I'm none more northern than when I'm doing that.
Well, I mean, I think that's the thing about living in London. You just kind of... we know it's too expensive down here. We know the things are too expensive, but I mean, what can you do?
Yes,
if you're living in London and you complained about this, life would be miserable. And so the only flex I've got on it is even to sort of almost brag about it. So my favourite person's Uncle Greg. I just like taking photographs of pints, and I managed to take a picture of a £12.50 pint, an Imperial Standard. And I just, whenever I find a pint that's really expensive, I just send it to him, because to be honest, it makes him happy. It just makes him happy that he's not living in London. It makes him happy that he's not missing out on anything, and he made the right choice by not living in London. So I'm happy to help him out. But I think living in London, you just sort of eventually learn it's going to be too depressing if I complain about prices all the time.
You're quite right. But what I've decided with the burger is, what is just as much a treat as Five Guys burger. And it's just a Big Mac. Just a Big Mac is the treat. Yeah.
I think in some sort of way, because we had a part of this conversation when I was on the way there, and I said I was going to go for it in text. I think actually you sort of spoilt my Five Guys experience, actually.
Well, you did ask me.
I think I knew you hated them, so that's why I was telling you. But I think I found it harder this time to ignore the price. I think I was. I think even I was eating it thinking, and also it was more. I think I notched up 18 quid.
Well, it was a couple of years ago at least.
I think I went for the shake. I think which God, it made it a bit more expensive.
Right. When I finished my burger at Five Guys, normally wherever I eat, any fast food place, I will always put my rubbish in the bin. I never leave it on the table.
Oh, no, that's a good
Five Guys, I left it there. I'm paying that much. There's no way I'm tidying up after myself.
I think I've finished my picture.
Excellent. I think I have.
I'm very pleased with it. I think it's very silly.
It is silly. It's really fun.
Goodbye, Darren.
Bye, Darren.